Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really profound concept called Bodhicitta, or the awakened mind. And we're going to unpack it using this powerful ancient metaphor, one that might totally change how you see your own potential.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll start with a core analogy that really unlocks the whole thing. Then, we'll look at what it actually means in practice. And finally, how understanding all this can lead to a much more effective and, a freer way of living.
So let's just jump right in with a powerful idea. Imagine for a second that you're holding something priceless, a real treasure, but you have absolutely no clue what it is.
So the core idea, right, is that every single one of us has something just as precious and powerful as a diamond inside us. This is Bodhicitta, our potential for an awakened mind. But here's the catch. Most of us just don't recognize it for what it is.
And because we don't see what it is, we treat it like a piece of broken glass. Something we see as an obstacle, maybe even a danger. We might tiptoe around it or even try to get rid of it, completely missing its incredible power and purpose.
So, what does it actually mean to finally see the diamond in your hand? Well, it really boils down to the huge difference between two states of mind, one of awakening and one of delusion.
And look, awakening isn't some, mystical thing that's impossible to reach. It's defined here in a super practical way. It just means having total knowledge of something and then being able to apply that knowledge perfectly. It could be anything, really, from cleaning a room with total efficiency to making a huge life decision with just perfect clarity.
And this is where you can really see the difference. It's just night and day. The awakened mind works with precision. It's in harmony with how things actually are. But then you've got the deluded mind, what's called wanso, which is basically running on autopilot, just old, ingrained habits, constantly fighting against reality. And that, of course, just leads to a whole lot of struggle.
And this state of delusion? The text argues it's the root cause for so much of our failure. When our minds are all over the place with these unhelpful thoughts, we just can't focus on what's right in front of us. It undermines our potential at work, in our studies, even at home with our families.
All right, so to really get our heads around this deeper nature of the awakened mind, we're going to use a really cool modern analogy, the computer screen.
Okay, so first, just think about everything you experience in life. The mountains and rivers, the people who come and go, all the ups and downs, the wins and the losses, everything. Now, imagine all of that stuff, all those experiences are just images, videos, and text popping up on a computer screen. They're temporary, right? They're always changing, appearing and then disappearing. Okay, so that leads us to a really important question. When you close an app or a window, when those images vanish, does that do any damage to the screen itself? No way, right? The screen is perfectly fine. And that is the whole point. Our core consciousness, our true nature, is just like that screen. It's indestructible. It's fundamentally unharmed no matter what temporary images of life show up on it. The screen stays perfect, whether it's showing a tragedy or a comedy. And realizing this, truly seeing the screen for what it is, that is what it means to finally see the diamond.
Okay, so you might be thinking, that's a neat idea, but so what? Well, getting this difference between the screen and the images, it's not just some philosophical game. It has huge practical consequences for how we actually live our lives.
See, when we get it twisted, when we think those temporary images are the real reality, when we get attached to our fleeting thoughts and emotions, that's when we're operating from delusion. We start fighting against the natural flow of things, and that leads to this state called sorcho beishao, which basically means you get way, way less than what you were hoping for. We're pretty much creating our own roadblocks.
And the difference in results? It's not just a little bit. It's absolutely massive. When you're fighting reality, you could be busting your butt, struggling just to make a few thousand. But someone else, who's aligned with how things really are, can achieve exponentially more, and often with way less effort. The difference here is gigantic.
So how do you get there? How do you get to that state of freedom, that zidzai? Well, the path looks something like this. It starts with establishing a correct view, seeing the screen for what it is and the images for what they are. From there, you align your actions with reality, not your flawed ideas about it. And that's when you can start to achieve your goals with a sense of ease, not constant struggle.
And all of this leaves us with one last question, a big one to really think about. As you go about your day, through all its challenges and its successes, just ask yourself, am I identifying with the temporary, fleeting images flashing by?
Or am I resting in the awareness of the unchanging screen, my true nature? The answer could be the key to unlocking that diamond within.